What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to LL Sports TV. Hope you're all doing well. This Saturday, April the 26th, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium over in North London, the biggest fight in the UK this year takes place. It's also, I think, one of the biggest fights anywhere across the world. It's a much anticipated fight, one which has been fueled by family history and a bitter personal feud. It's Chris Eubank Jr. taking on Conor Benn, and the sons of the legendary former fighters who fought themselves over 30 odd years ago, back in the early 90s. Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn, they fought twice. Chris Eubank Sr. won the first one. The rematch ended in a draw, although many people thought that Nigel Benn did enough to win on that occasion. But this Saturday, their sons go head to head, and it promises to be an amazing night. But let's have a little look at the background to the fight. Actually, Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. were supposed to have fought back in October 2022. However, you may well know the story by now. Conor Benn failed a drugs test prior to that fight. I think he failed, was it clomiphene was found in his system, and the fight was subsequently cancelled. And ever since then, Chris Eubank Jr. has gone on a tirade about Conor Benn. He's mocked him. He's expressed his disbelief over Conor Benn's assertions that he didn't deliberately take anything illegal. He's shown absolute disdain, and that has led to the two of them having a real fractious relationship. In fact, I think I'm aware that they hadn't been getting on that great prior to then. I think there is some personal dislike that goes way back. Conor Benn has alluded to that. He didn't give the reasons, but he said that even before the egg stuff, him and Chris Eubank Jr. had not been on the best of terms by any stretch of the imagination. That situation has led to them clashing on numerous times at public events, at fights, they've got into each other's faces, they've traded insults, they've pushed and jostled each other. Now the fight has been set, and the two of them are set to go head to head. And the atmosphere leading up to this fight, I've got to say, has been highly charged. And it's made it one of the most eagerly anticipated fights in recent years. So that's the backdrop to the fight. Now let's have a look at the two fighters in a bit more detail, starting with Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank Jr. is 35 years old. He's from Brighton. He's 5'11", I believe. He's got a reach of 73 inches. Professional record of 37 fights, 34 wins, 25 by KO, giving him a KO percentage of 74%. He's got 3 losses to Billy Joe Saunders, George Groves, and Liam Smith. Liam Smith stopped him the only time Chris Eubank Jr. so far has been stopped in his career. Now, Chris Eubank Jr., he's known for his athleticism, high work rate, good stamina, relentless pressure that he applies. Certainly in his heyday, that's what he was known for. He's a decent puncher, but he's not like, I wouldn't call him a one-punch power hitter, but he does have power, and he is an accurate puncher as well. But he typically relies on his fitness and his volume punching to kind of overwhelm his opponents. That's what he's normally known for. I wouldn't say he has elite boxing skills. He has good boxing skills, although the punch volume in recent years, I've noticed, is not what it was. Well, I mean, he is 35 years old now, so I think that's fair that the punch rate is going to dip a little. You sometimes do wonder to yourselves when you see fighters in their mid to late 30s and they're throwing like high volume punching more punches per round than they had been previously. That's normally suspicious. But anyway, we can't apply that to Chris Eubank Jr. As for Conor Benn, 28 years old. He was born in London, but he has lived in Spain and Australia before returning back to the UK to become a professional fighter. He's 5'8". He has a reach of 68 inches, so he's giving up height and reach to Chris Eubank Jr. in this fight. His professional record to date is 23 fights, 23 wins, 14 by KO, which gives him a KO percentage of around about 60-61%. Conor Benn's attributes I would describe as he's very aggressive. He's a front foot fighter. He's very fit. He's very fast. He's explosive. Punches with bad intentions. He's got good head movement, and he's got decent footwork. He does vary his angles. He does like to, he doesn't come straight forward in straight lines. He does try to vary it a bit, which is good. I would say his boxing skills as well has improved over the years quite exponentially, actually. If you look at an early Conor Benn, to what he is now is very, very different, way different. But he is relatively inexperienced at this level. He's not fought anywhere near the level that Chris Eubank Jr.'s fought. And he has had spells out the ring, obviously, with the drug situation. That was quite a traumatic time in his life. He was out the ring for a while. He went through some real personal problems in that time, which he freely admits to. But he says he's back now. He's back with a bang. So I guess we will see. In terms of the tactics that I expect each man to deploy in this fight, I think it's important to factor in the weight. I think that is going to play a part. I mean, this fight has been set at the middleweight limit of 160 pounds. And this represents a significant step up for Conor Benn because he's been, up until now, a career welterweight. I think he has had a fight at junior middleweight. I think when he fought Peter Dobson in his last fight, I think he fought up at 154. But yeah, to go from 147 to 160 is quite a big jump. So that means he's coming up effectively 2 weight classes from, what he was originally fighting at. So Chris Eubank Jr. will be significantly the bigger man and will have the weight advantage. However, there is a rehydration clause that no fighter can weigh in 10 pounds over the limit on the day of the fight. So that might play a little bit into Conor Benn's favour, and that might hamper Chris Eubank Jr. If you remember, before he lost the fight to Liam Smith, he had to crash weight, coming up and down in weight, fluctuating from super middleweight to middleweight and fighting at catch weights. And he came undone in that fight. And he said a big reason for that was the fluctuations in weight. So we'll have to see how that goes. But he is the bigger man. And I would expect that if he can make the weight and make the weight well, then that will help him. In terms of the tactics, I would expect Chris Eubank Jr. to look to weather Conor Benn's initial storm, use his jab and use his movement to control the distance before imposing his greater size and strength later on in the fight. And I think what he'll look to do is try and wear down Conor Benn and exploit any weaknesses as the fight gets longer. Conor Benn, I think the tactics are fairly clear. I think he's going to come out aggressive. He's going to try and stick it on Chris Eubank Jr. He's going to use his movement, his speed, and his explosivity to try and make a dent in Chris Eubank Jr. And I think he's going to try and be looking for the knockout as soon as he can. I mean, me personally, in terms of a prediction, I've been analysing the two fighters quite closely. And I give Conor Benn, I think his chance in this fight, he has what I call a 6-round window in which to get the job done, or if not get the job done, put enough damage on Chris Eubank Jr. to ensure that if the fight does go late, he's got the rounds in the bag. Because I think if he tries to box with Chris Eubank Jr., or I think that might be the wrong tactic. I think he's got to set a fast pace. He's got to be aggressive but smart. He's got to try and land his shots and not get out of there maybe, but, use his head movement to roll under the punches coming back. So he's got to be smart. He can't just go in there with reckless abandon. He's got to be smart. But I do give him a 6-round window of opportunity. I think if the fight goes longer than 6 rounds and Chris Eubank Jr. has not suffered any real damage, any knockdowns or anything like that, then I think that enters into his territory where his greater size, experience and skill level should start to play a big part. I know that's kind of sitting on the fence, but that's how I see the fight panning out. I guess if you press me, I would have to say that I think Chris Eubank Jr. is the favourite. And given his greater size, given his greater experience, given his greater skill set that he's shown so far in his career, I would expect Chris Eubank Jr. to win this fight, either by a late stoppage or a unanimous points decision. I think this fight may have come a bit too early for Conor Benn. I mean, he is 28 years old, but he's been at the ring for quite a while now, given the problems he's had with the failed drugs test in the past. But I do think it's going to be a great fight. I do think that there is going to be ebb and flow. I think there is going to be moments. I do think that Conor Benn will leave it all in the ring. Of that, I'm sure. And similarly with Chris Eubank. So I think that this fight will catch fire. and I think it's going to be a memorable night. But I do have Chris Eubank Jr. as the winner. But it wouldn't be the biggest surprise in the world if Conor Benn pulled it off. I mean, he's the younger man. I've seen him in training. He looks tremendous. I mean, they both do, but I've been impressed with the way Conor Benn looks. He looks fast. He looks explosive. I like his intensity. I like the way he's talking. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. I mean, like I said, if you'd have asked me about this fight a couple of years ago, or even when the first fight was made back in October 2022, I would have been strongly in favour of Chris Eubank Jr. winning. I do think that the tide has changed somewhat. And maybe Conor Benn might be catching Eubank at a good time. Who knows? But nevertheless, I'm looking forward to it. What do you guys think? Do you think will have the hand raised at the end of the night? Do you think it will be Chris Eubank Jr. or do you think it will be Conor Benn? Please let me know in the comments. Love to hear what you guys think. And gotta say, thanks so much for watching the video. Please, if you're new to the channel, please like, share and subscribe. Appreciate the support. Catch you on the next one. I'm out.